Next thing I know, I'm about to embarrass myself in front of the internet. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please do subscribe, and if you're old here, hello again. My name's Kate Philpott. Sandy is on another walk. Again, my dog has a busier schedule than I do. And I cover true crime cases on my channel, and I do the occasional crazy story time. And today, I felt like it was time for a story time. It's been a while since I've done one, and to be honest, I know that there's a chance that nobody really cares, but I do feel like it's good for me every couple of weeks to get a bit of a break from the death and the murder and the, horrible, dark things that we talk about in true crime cases. Hold on, I feel like you're very far away from me. Yeah. But yeah, every few weeks I get this like gradually thickening like brain fog and just a feeling of like, because it is quite heavy, the stuff we talk about on here. And I definitely feel like I've gotten to that point at the moment. So with all that said, let's get into this story time. And actually it'll kind of be 3 story times in one. Basically, I'm a fainter. And it definitely was worse when I was younger, but I just have been one that was known to pass out on occasion. And it was never something that upset me, or it wasn't like a serious thing. Like, to be honest, I actually just found it kind of funny because I was lucky in that it wasn't like a serious issue. Like, it would happen on average about once or twice a year. But the thing about fainting is that it can get you into some interesting situations. So I'm going to tell you about 3 different fainting scenarios I've been in, and they'll get gradually more embarrassing as we go through them. So with that said, I love just embarrassing myself on here. So with that said, let's get into the first story. So this was probably over 10 years ago, so my memory is definitely foggy, but there are definitely some bits that stand out to me because I'm like, wow, you just can't take me anywhere. In general, I have a very low pain threshold, but to be honest, in this scenario, I think it was more so the thought of what was happening as opposed to like the actual pain of it. So I'll cut to the chase. Basically, it was when I got my ears pierced. So I went into the shop with my mom and I was really excited, but I was also kind of nervous because, I hadn't done it before. These people were gonna pierce holes in my body, Yeah, I was definitely nervous, but I was feeling good. I was like, little 11 or 12-year-old Kate was like, feeling herself, this was essentially me becoming a woman. And then they did it, and obviously it was over in a second because they do both ears at the same time where I went, and I was like, oh, okay, so that's done, cool. And then I guess I just started like ruminating over the fact that they had just put foreign objects into my earlobes, and like the fact that there was now holes and I was probably bleeding, and I think it all just kind of, it started to freak me out basically. Next thing I knew, I woke up in the shop on the floor beneath the handbag wall, just looking up at the world. I was like, what? And then of course, to get the blood back to my vital organs and everything, my mom had my feet on her shoulders, like, so my feet were like, my legs were up in the air. Can you imagine walking past at that point? Because I was pretty much in the window of the shop too, and just seeing this little girl, like, legs in the air and face kind of like, oh. You can't take me anywhere. That was a very quick one, but on to story 2. Okay, so I have always loved dancing. It's always been like my biggest passion in life. So I took several dance classes when I was younger, and low-key dying to get back to it, by the way, which is why I love TikTok so much. And I remember having this one dance teacher called Katrina, and Katrina was significantly into herself. And I mean, now I'd be like, yes, love that for you. But back then, when I was this extremely shy 12-year-old with low self-esteem and low confidence and everything, I envied and therefore strongly disliked anybody with a lot of confidence. But this one particular day, we were doing hip-hop style of dance, and one of the things we were doing was the baby freeze. So I was finding it quite difficult, like I just couldn't get my body up and like stay there, and whatever way I did it, I bent my thumb back in a really awkward and painful position, and it was so painful that I walked over to the window and I just was like trying not to cry. Big crier, by the way, especially over physical pain. And then things got a little hazy. Next thing I know, I was on the other side of the room, sitting with my back against the mirror on the floor, just like, I'm like, what the actual hell just happened? Like, how did I get here? So the teacher, Katrina, comes over. She's like, oh my God, are you okay? Here, let me help you breathe. Because I was hyperventilating like the dramatic child that I was. And I'll put a pin in that there, but I went home that day, I was like, ha, ma'am, guess what happened to me today? But then I went to school the following Monday, and this girl in my class who was also in my dance class came up to me and she's laughing. And I'm like, you good? Because she was kind of popular for a 12-year-old. So really I was kind of just like, why is she talking to me? So she's laughing, and finally she tells me. She's like, you fainting the other day was so funny. Thank you. And then she says, do you remember what you did? And I'm like, no girl, the last thing I remember, I was at the window and then I just suddenly was at the mirror. Like, I have no clue what happened in between those two things. And she's like, oh my God, okay, let me tell you. She's like, so Katrina, the dance teacher, was at the mirror, like bending over, like checking herself out, like, ooh, ooh. And you did this weird dance run. I'm like, excuse me? And you ran like this with your arms in front of you and your tongue hanging out of your mouth. And you went head first straight into Katrina's butt. Then you hit your head off the mirror and then you slid down to the floor. I was like, what? And I didn't believe her at first. So I asked one of my friends that was also there and she was like, yeah, I thought you knew. Guys, I ran head first into a dance teacher's ass. Like, okay, on to the last one. This one kills me every time. And it was actually the most recent. So it was only about 2 weeks before I went to Australia. So this would have been January 2019. It was only last year. Because I was going to Australia for a year and potentially 2 years at that point, I, was getting loads of tests done to make sure like I was all good. So 2 of the tests I had done were getting my bloods done, and also there was a urine test. No. I had never ever gotten my bloods done before, which is wild now that I think about it. I was kind of worried about it because I know I've a history of fainting, and a lot of the times I've fainted were like when I've been getting injections and stuff like that. I also presumed that I was getting the urine test done in the doctor's office. Like, I have done urine tests there before, like they give me a cup and I just go to their bathroom. So that's what I was assuming. So I was like drinking loads of water, ready to go, if you know what I mean. Anyway, first things first. I'm waiting, I'm worried, but I'm like, you know what? I got this. I can do this. I will lie down and I'm not gonna get up until I feel like I'm good, So I lie on the bed. I'm like, just so you know, I do have a history of fainting. Just saying it out loud so that, it's out there and you can be prepared if needs be. So the nurse knew about it and everything, so that was fine. So I'm looking away because no way am I gonna actually look at it. But it's happening. I'm like, oh, okay. And I feel a bit like, ooh, but I'm like, actually, that wasn't that bad. Like, I really thought that was gonna be worse. I take a minute or two afterwards, still lying there before I get up. I'm like, honestly, I actually think I'm okay. So I go over and I sit on the chair opposite her because she has to ask me a few questions about myself. She has the test tube of my blood and she wanted me to check my details were right, so she hands it to me. And I'm looking at it, and first thing that strikes me is I wasn't expecting this to be this warm. I check my details and I'm like, yep, that's all accurate, thank you. And then I say to her, I was really expecting that to be worse, like I'm actually fine. And she was like, there you go, we big these things up sometimes and blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, oh. I'm like, wait, hold on. I got so woozy. I couldn't even hold my head upright. Like, it was like this, and everything was like white but also black at the same time. Next thing I know, I'm about to embarrass myself in front of the internet. Next thing I know, I wake up on the floor and I'm feeling really warm around down there. And I look down and I've peed myself. I'm in a massive puddle, and get this, I was still peeing. Because I needed to go so bad, because I thought I needed to do the urine test there. So I was like ready to go full bladder. And I just... She grabbed the doctor to come in, and they're all like, are you okay? And like, they helped me up and they helped me back onto the bed, and then they started doing loads of other tests. They did a finger prick test, checked my heart rate, checked my blood pressure. Like, it was actually really surreal, because I was like, I feel like I'm in an ambulance right now, and everyone is like doing all these things to me, and I was lying there like in my own pee. It's just like, they also had this box of like the tests that they were doing, and they were resting it on my lap, which was wet with pee. I thought that was kind of weird. But when they did the finger prick test, I was like, seriously? Like, this only happened because of piercing my body, so like now you're gonna do it again? Like, it's probably gonna happen again. I was lying there and the thought comes to me like, how am I gonna get home? Because I walked to the doctor's office that day because my mum was working, my dad was working, my brother didn't live with us, my auntie was working, like, because I wanted a lift to the doctor's office that day because I was afraid that something was gonna happen, but nobody could give me a lift, and it was the only day I could get it done. The walk home was like maybe 10-15 minutes, so it's not like it would have been a long walk. But what if I fainted again and like hit my head or something? They didn't want to let me go on my own either. But also, like, what was I gonna do? Walk home in my wet clothes? Like, before I move on, I cannot even express to you how much I peed. There was so much. But at the time I was still PTing, and one of my clients I had gotten quite close to, and she lived nearby as well, so I texted her and kind of was like, ooh, are you around? Like, ugh. And she was like, no, I'm not around, but my husband's home, he'll bring you home. And I was like, okay. Bear in mind, I had maybe met this husband like a couple of times, but he was very much an acquaintance to me. I don't think I had ever had a full conversation with this guy. So he pulls up in a van with loads of towels, and I sat on a towel and like I was kind of dabbing myself down. I was like, well, nice to meet you. I was like, I wish it was under different circumstances. Oh my god. But it was so kind of him to do that, and he brought me home and made sure I was all good, and that was fine. But like, can we just... Who gets themselves into these kind of situations? Oh, it was so embarrassing. Like, the nurse was asking me, like, have you been incontinent before when you've passed out? And I'm like, incontinent? Anyway, those are a few of my fainting stories. This is probably a really short video, actually. It was either this video or no video this week because I really needed a break from true crime, but I'll be back at it next week. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please give me a like and comment down below. Have you got any fainting stories, or even just any embarrassing stories in general? Because we love to laugh at each other in this little community. Also on Instagram, Twitter, and now TikTok. My name is KatePhilpott_YT, and I'm hoping that next week Sandy's schedule will clear up for us, even just for a little bit. Oh my god. The tripod is like moving. I'm in a totally different position in the video than I was before. Ah! Okay, I have no idea when that started to slip. So it just was like slowly slipping down, so I hope that wasn't too bad for you. Oh god, it's definitely time for me to go. Ironically, I really need to pee. Also, don't forget to turn on the notifications, just hit the little bell beside the subscribe button so you don't miss an upload. I upload every Friday at 3 p.m. and I will be back to true crime next week. Again, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!